This podcast was written and created by Avi Melamed, Middle East intelligence analyst and founder of the Inside the Middle East Institute.
How do the exact words we use to describe a conflict sort of paralyze our ability to recognize the facts on the ground? It's a pretty heavy question for you today, but, a really crucial one.
Yeah, it really is because, well, when the vocabulary we rely on to understand a crisis starts to blur, our grasp on the reality of that crisis just kind of slips away.
Right. So to understand how this linguistic paralysis happens, our deep dive today focuses on a May 15th, 2026 article by Avi Melamed. It's titled Gaza and the Politics of Ambiguity.
Exactly. And just to be clear for you listening, we're impartially exploring the viewpoints presented in Avi Melamed's analysis, just trying to understand how language shapes conflict.
Yeah, we're just laying out the argument. So let's jump right into how language itself actually breaks down during a conflict.
Well, Avi Melamed starts by bringing in a summary of an argument from an Arab journalist, Tawfiq al-Razin, and al-Razin claims that the global discourse on Gaza involves this deliberate laundering of language.
Laundering, like we stop calling things by their proper names.
It's exactly, softening the reality. For instance, he points out how a reality of starvation gets reframed as just a logistical challenge in distributing humanitarian aid.
Oh, I see. Or like how forced displacement suddenly becomes voluntary migration. But I have to ask, is the goal here just to convince people of a specific narrative? Because that just sounds like standard propaganda.
You'd think so, but actually, Al-Razin argues the goal is to flood the zone with so many justifications that the public simply loses faith in uncovering the truth at all.
Right, they just give up.
Exactly. And he blames this on an international system that has basically become subordinate to political considerations.
That makes sense on a surface level, I guess, but it feels a bit incomplete. So does Avi Melamed agree that international politics is the root cause of this paralysis?
Well, Avi Melamed does agree that the ambiguity exists, but he argues that Al-Razin is missing the structural root of the problem.
Okay, so what is the structural root then?
The ambiguity isn't just, political maneuvering. Avi Melamed says it's a reaction to the profound legal and political difficulties created by Hamas's rule and tactics.
Meaning what exactly? How does that work in practice?
Meaning Hamas governs Gaza, right?
Okay.
Yet they claim no responsibility for the welfare of its civilians. And Avi Melamed points specifically to their doctrine of embedding military infrastructure directly within civilian areas.
Right, like using homes as weapons depots?
Yeah, exactly. Or operating command centers inside places like Shifa Hospital. Or even employing military operatives who function publicly as journalists.
I'm just trying to picture how international legal frameworks even deal with that. It's almost like a structural short circuit in international law.
That's a really good analogy, actually.
Because the system just freezes, right?
Yeah.
The traditional boundaries between civilian and military have been intentionally overlapped.
Precisely. The rules of war were built for distinct categories. So when you intentionally fuse those categories together, the whole framework just freezes up.
And I imagine that causes different parts of the world to react in very different ways.
It does. Avi Melamed observes that Western discourse struggles, both intellectually and emotionally, really, to connect the harsh reality in Gaza with Hamas's responsibility for it.
So because they struggle to make that connection, they just retreat into the exact ambiguity that al-Razin was criticizing.
Yes, exactly. But what's really interesting is how Avi Melamed contrasts this with Arab discourse.
Oh, is it not the same kind of paralysis?
Not at all. He points out a sharp contrast. In Arab discourse, there is a much clearer willingness to connect the harsh realities on the ground directly to Hamas's actions.
How so? Give me a sense of what that actually looks like.
Well, Avi Melamed gives several examples of Arab commentators.
Yeah.
For instance, Ahmed Abdel Wahab talks explicitly about how massive external aid is diverted to serve governing interests instead of ordinary Gazans.
Right, being very specific instead of vague.
Exactly. And Ibrahim Nur al-Din highlights the anger toward a leadership hiding in hospitals while citizens die. Or Ibrahim Isa, who condemns Hamas for building tunnels solely to protect operatives, leaving civilians completely exposed.
And it is important to point out that alongside its harsh criticism of Hamas, the Arab public realm does recognize Palestinian victimhood.
Yes, very much so. They don't treat those two realities as mutually exclusive. They hold both truths simultaneously, which really cuts through that linguistic laundering we talked about at the beginning.
So when you're looking at the news today, reading about global conflicts, it's vital to realize those words aren't just passive descriptions. Avi Melamed's core takeaway really forces us to examine the interplay between emotion and intellect in shaping these narratives.
It really does. It challenges how we process the information we're given.
Absolutely. So we'll leave you with this final thought to ponder. If modern actors can fracture international law simply by blurring civilian and military lines, how can global institutions update their definitions to protect both the truth and the innocent in future conflicts? Until we figure that out, the words we use might just keep paralyzing our ability to see the facts on the ground.
This podcast is made possible by supporters like you. ITME is an independent, nonprofit institute committed to apolitical, intelligence-based Middle East education.
To learn more or to support our work, visit our website www.insidethemiddle-east.com.